Welcome everybody to the Navigant Credit Union Broadcast Center and GoLocal Live. It is Small Biz on Monday. We've got Emma Ramadan from maybe the coolest idea for a bookstore or a bar or bookstore or bar, Riff Raff?
Yes. Riff.
And you opened how long ago?
We opened almost exactly 7 months ago now.
So 7 months ago, and you are the combination of a bookstore, an eclectic bookstore.
Yes.
And you serve drinks.
Yes, that's correct.
And where was the brainchild for this? Were you reading a book about drinks? Were you in a bar wishing to read? Like, where does this come from?
So there are a couple of other bookstore bars in the country. There's a couple in upstate New York. And in, I think, late 2016, I was up in Hudson Valley at the Spotty Dog, which is another bookstore bar, visiting, and kind of my whole life I'd always been saying my dream would be to open a bookstore bar. Bookstores are evolving now to kind of keep up with online shopping and the competition of Amazon, and so bookstores have to find new ways to evolve. And so this trend of bookstore bars has been kind of cropping up over the past few years. And I was there for my birthday one year, and I happened to meet my co-owner, Tom, around the same time, mentioned it to him, and it turned out he'd also had the same dream for many years of opening a bookstore bar. And so it kind of just became an us project after that point.
Does a lifelong dream like this start in the 4th grade? Like when exactly does the dream of opening a bookstore bar click?
I think probably when I was in high school, when you're still kind of have a bunch of romantic ideas about what your life can look like, and you know, I was in high school, I knew I was interested in books, and there's not a lot of things to do with an interest in books other than working in publishing or working in a bookstore. And working in publishing seems like the more realistic career path, but after kind of doing some internships or some you know, entry-level jobs in publishing, I knew it wasn't quite right for me, and there's a lot of kind of forced things that happen in publishing. You know, you have to promote books you don't necessarily believe in, and you have to put a lot of work into things that maybe you're not super passionate about. But when you work at a bookstore, it's all honesty. You're promoting the books that you care about. You're helping customers find something that you genuinely think they're going to care about and enjoy reading. And I just knew that that was more where my interests lie. And
what's the breakdown? First of all, we love entrepreneurs. We love this segment. Last week we had some great guests on. The week before we had the mushroom company. Like, it's all good. But, you know, as an entrepreneur, you know, you're trying to design a business model, because at the end of the day, whether you're a digital news company or a bar bookstore, we're all hardware stores, right? We're selling nails, and we have to sell enough nails to be able to turn on the lights. What have been some of the challenges of being a bookstore bar?
So I think one of the biggest challenges is that people don't necessarily know what to expect, and so when they walk in, there's this kind of uncomfortable moment of, oh, I've never been in a space like this before. What do I do? Do I need to sign in? Does somebody need to seat me? And you know, it really is just a bookstore that's also a bar. And if you've never been into our space before, it's one large kind of rectangular space that's separated in two almost by the bookshelves, but you can walk between the bookstore and into the bar, and from the bar into the bookstore. You can bring your drink into the bookstore, you can bring books into the bar. It's also, we have coffee and tea during the day, and so I think kind of getting people to understand that the space is whatever they want it to be. They can come in, they can, you know, have a cup of coffee, do some work, or they can have a drink, browse books, or they can just have a drink, and if they don't want to look at books, that's also okay. And kind of getting people to understand what a bookstore bar is or could be for them.
So you've probably had prolific drinkers, and you've probably had prolific readers. Have you ever had the combination of somebody who literally sat at the bar, drank way too much, and tried to read way too much simultaneously?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know that it's ever gotten to the point of too much. I don't know that you can ever read too much. You can definitely drink too much, but we do have a lot of regular customers who will come in on, you know, a Saturday night and sit at the bar with a book and have drink after drink and read the entire book, and that's their Saturday night. And it's so lovely to see that. I love when that happens, and there's been a really beautiful kind of combination of readers and drinkers, or people who come in just because they like the cocktails, but then they happen to see a book that they like and they happen to buy it, and then they come back for more books, and this like beautiful crossover.
So let's start books.
Yeah.
What are the sections in the store, and what makes it unique? I mean, what is it that you have that I can't get at, Wayland
Books on the Square.
Square or Brown Bookstore or Barrington Books?
Right.
What makes you unique?
So we have a little bit of everything. Our sections, we have a lot of literary fiction, we have a lot of nonfiction, we have a poetry section, a kids section, very small YA section, and Spanish language section. But there's definitely a focus on fiction, and also some art books and other little fun books. But I think we always set out to offer something that none of the other bookstores around here offer, and that consists mainly of a lot of small press titles, a lot of books in translation, a lot of political books, literary fiction that you can't necessarily find in the other stores around here. And we sort of noticed that the kind of books we were interested in, the books we were looking for, weren't being offered around here. And so it's the kind of store where if you walk into Riff Raff, you're going to end up walking out with something that you probably never have heard of before. But we also do try to balance it. We do have a lot of bestsellers. We do have the kinds of things that are popular right now. We just try to balance it out so that if you come in thinking
So there's a wow factor.
Yeah.
There's like, oh, wow, I didn't know.
Right, exactly. So
you're
like
not going there
side by side.
exclusively for John Grisham.
Right.
Right.
Like you might go in thinking that you just want the new David Sedaris, but walking out with an obscure book of poetry and translation.
And then let's go to the bar side.
Okay.
And what makes the bar unique?
So our bar, we put, in the same way that we put a lot of care into curating our bookstore and the books that are on the shelves, and we, in the bookstore we try to have a lot of marginalized writers of color, things that, are underrepresented. We try to do the same on the bar side, so we try to bring in a lot of interesting beers or ciders that you can't necessarily find at your other local bar in the city or the state. And we have an artisanal French cider that's pretty cheap, but it's delicious and no one else is selling it right now. Or we have these cocktails that we put a lot of effort into crafting and coming up with new recipes every season, and we come up with everything mostly ourselves with our bartenders. And we try to keep all of our prices really low and reasonable.
Do they have literary names?
They don't have literary names. Every now and then we'll do kind of a special where we incorporate books into the cocktails. But we're trying to kind of fight this image of a bookstore bar being something pretentious.
Yeah.
And so we try to keep everything.
You're not going pretentious.
We're trying very hard not to go
Pretentious has so much value. You can charge more if you're pretentious.
We want to be a space for everyone. We want to be a community space. And not everyone can afford a $12 or $13 cocktail, and this isn't New York City. And if we can offer something that's really good and really special for a reasonable price, why not do that and make everybody feel welcome?
How has it been getting the word out? I know I think we reported on you super early, right when you were opening. And I think for anybody, a bookstore or a bar or a restaurant, you get a bunch of love at the very beginning. How do you sustain that and kind of keep information flowing and keep the buzz going?
Right. I think that's been a challenge for us because we're so tucked away. Yeah. We're in Olneyville. We're in this courtyard. And when you walk into the courtyard, it's like this beautiful oasis, but it is a little hard to find, and getting the word out has been tough. But social media is really powerful right now, and also I think what's really great about being in Providence, and something that happens with a lot of businesses around here, is that businesses team up and do things together.
Right.
And so we just on Saturday had a pop-up with Fountain & Co., which is a local ice cream maker. And they came and sold ice cream out of our store, and so the people who follow them then came into our store. And those collaborations with other local businesses in Providence are really special and have been really vital in getting the word out.
And from running a business, had you ever run a business before?
No.
No. So what's been the most interesting learning experience?
I think I didn't quite understand the hours of being a bookstore and a bar.
Right. Welcome to the world of never sleeping.
Right, because we're open bookstore hours and bar hours. So we're open 11 a.m. to midnight, and that takes a toll, and you don't have a lot of recharge time. And then the other thing I think is when people come in and maybe express that something wasn't exactly what they were expecting it to be, or if you see any little criticism on the internet, my immediate instinct is to say, okay, let's fix it. Let's change everything so that this one customer is satisfied. And I think understanding that, you know, patience and being okay with not everybody liking every little detail of the space is okay, and that we believe in what we're doing, and we know that we are affecting other people, and other people are having a really positive response to what we're doing, and letting the positivity affect us as much as the negativity.
Yeah, I mean, listen, we produce 30 articles and videos a day on average, so needless to say, because we cover all aspects of news and politics and lifestyle and everything, everyone is not pleased with everything that gets posted, to put it mildly.
Right.
And they're not shy about expressing that over and over and over again. There's one who says, blah, blah, blah. Hello, dummies. So what's been the greatest sort of reaffirmation of the vision? I mean, what's been the thing that you go, this is why we did it?
We have been very pleasantly surprised at how many regular customers we have, and how many we had from the jump, and seeing that there are certain people in this community that really connect with the space and go there all the time and bring their friends and buy books and drink and kind of do the best of both. Has been really special, and every time we see a familiar face or a repeat customer come in, it just kind of fills my heart with this light of, oh, this person liked our space enough to come back, and comes back pretty much every week, and that it's become a place in their lives, and that's been really important.
And what's been the biggest ticket? Has it been book driven? Has somebody gone in and bought $1,000 worth of books, or has anyone gone in and brought a big party in and spent $1,000 in drink?
I don't know that anyone's run up $1,000 tab just yet. We might during our wedding weekend, but I think every now and then we host private events for local groups, and that's always a big uptick for us, and also makes us feel good because we're working in partnership with another community group, and maybe hosting a Christmas party or something along those lines. And so that's probably been our biggest boom. But also every now and then we get a customer who comes in who we really don't expect to walk out with anything, and then they come up to the register with a stack of 20 books, and that's really great.
Are you having authors in and book signings and readings? And
yeah, so we started in June. So, this is June. We started in May doing events, and so less so than readings, we more have discussions, so it'll be an author in conversation with someone local in the community and talking about their book and maybe doing a brief reading, and we've done, I think, 5 so far, and that's been great.
Yeah, those are great. I think everybody connects to them, and especially if it's exposure to somebody that you can't get to any other way.
Right.
We've had a slew of people from Ben Mesrick to AJ Finn Skype in on different, top writers in the world, and it's just been wonderful to see the reaction in social media. What's your advice to other folks thinking about launching businesses? And then we'll get into the nitty-gritty of sort of how you launched it. But what's your advice?
I think my advice is to know what it is you're trying to do, and to trust in your own vision and not get distracted or get discouraged by what other people might have to say about it, and just pursue it and stick to it and be patient with yourself and with the community and with your business. And if you know that what you're doing feels right to you, and that you're doing what you set out to do, then just hold fast and stick to it and stay focused on that.
That's great. You get some financing to put this whole thing together, and you scrap together the change out of your couch and all that kind of stuff. Who helped you out in putting together the financing?
So we put in all of our personal savings, of course, and we also had some small investments from people in the community, and then we had a loan from the Community Investment Corporation in partnership with the SBA here and the Commerce Corporation.
Great. And that worked out pretty well.
Yes.
And you said that was not the worst process in the entire world.
No, that process was pretty smooth, and it was great because it meant that we started our business. When we opened, we had money in the bank, and so that we had a marketing budget, and we were able to not panic if something went wrong and we had to fix things. It gave us a sense of security.
And the city was more complicated.
The city of Providence is not the easiest to open a business in, which I'm sure is not a surprise to anyone.
No, it's not a surprise to absolutely anybody. You've officially joined the chorus of everyone who runs a business in Providence.
Yes.
Last thing, kind of Ben, what's the thing that you just walk out and say, this is why I love what I'm doing?
I think it makes me feel really good to be able to talk to a customer in the store and put books in their hands or give them a drink that they enjoy. If anyone who comes in and I'm able to give them what they're looking for and maybe have a really great conversation with them and feel that much more connected to the community and what we're doing here, those kind of little mini interactions on a day-to-day basis with customers just make me feel.
So are you paying off the dream?
Am I paying off the dream?
Yeah.
Are we?
The dream that you had when coming up with the concept?
Yeah, I mean, it feels like exactly what I imagined it would be in a lot of ways, and in some ways it doesn't feel that way, but on the whole, that kind of like one-to-one interaction with people and being able to show people what we've created feels like I thought it would be.
Well, listen, congratulations so much on the vision, on doing it. As I say, everybody I think has in their heart of hearts dreams of starting a business, and everyone's frustrated working for the man, and now you have no one to blame because you are the man. But congratulations, it's a super cool concept, and this is the right city to do it, and I think you're going to be wildly successful. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
We're going to be right back with our next guest, and appreciate you tuning in. We'll be back in less than 30 seconds. Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Navigant Credit Union Broadcast Center. It is Small Biz on Business Monday. I'm Josh Fenton. This is Christian Cowan from Polaris MEP, the guys who are rejuvenating, expediting, refueling the state's manufacturing. You're like the illegal steroid of manufacturing here in Rhode Island. There's going to be a whole investigation. It's going to be Bobby Bonds all over again, or whichever Bonds it is that takes all the drugs. Talk a little bit about what you guys do.
Thanks for having me here, Josh. I appreciate it. Polaris MEP is a manufacturing extension partnership center. So the manufacturing.
Okay, in English now.
Okay, got it. Well, it's a federal program.
Right.
There's an MEP center in every state, and the national objective is for all the centers to help small and medium manufacturers sustain and grow. It was originated back in 1988 when the U.S. federal government saw all these small manufacturing companies close down,
right,
and they realized that they needed support in basic manufacturing principles. So all these people come up with great ideas and make products that people are willing to buy. but they didn't really have the knowledge and expertise in order to manufacture them enough and keep a business going.
So is it kind of the issues related to quality control, or was it best practices, or was it marketing? I mean, where was the void? I mean, certainly all of us know of the decay of manufacturing, especially in Rhode Island, where lots of different different components of business have, in some cases, ceased to exist in the state, and much of it gone overseas. Where was the hot points, or was it all the hot points?
Yeah, so that's a good question, Josh. The core of what all the MEP centers deliver is lean manufacturing, quality systems, you hit it right on the head, facility layout, material moves. Those are all the core basic manufacturing principles that any company needs to understand in order to make something and make it profitably. So all of the MEP centers really have their staff and their expertise around those capabilities.
And then let's talk about some of the, we always had, way back when, we obviously had, we were key in costume jewelry or some of the other historical manufacturing strengths of the state. Where are we now, and where is manufacturing headed in Rhode Island?
Yeah, it's a good question. Manufacturing has changed a lot, not only in Rhode Island, but across the country. And where low-cost manufacturing is really done overseas. So manufacturers are really doing well here in this state, focusing on very specific, not even just niches, but technologies and products.
Sure.
So, for example, a lot of the old costume jewelry companies are now making more high-end metals to go in more high-end applications. We have screw manufacturers, plating, etc. So instead of going into the low-cost applications, it's really a higher value that they're providing.
And who's coming to you? Is it the CEO that's losing market share? Is it the CEO? Is it the state? Is it who's coming to you and saying, hey, we need you to help out these guys?
Usually it's the management level of the company. So we've had multiple companies come to us and say, our customer just doubled their volume with us, and we can't hire twice the staff, and we can't, go into a space that's twice as big. So can you help us, understand how we can pump out more product without burdening those costs? So we go in, do an analysis of their operations, and then help them implement some best practices in order to grow. So one example is a company that manufactures medical kits, and they send them out, and they literally had their product volume double. So we went in, did an analysis, and then he increased his staff by 20% and doubled their product output. So it's a typical use case where people leverage Polaris MEP.
Manufacturing jobs have been coming back a little bit in Rhode Island. And what do you, besides your own good work, we're gonna chop up most of it to your good work, but what's driving that?
The manufacturing economy here in the state, like others, is really booming. There's some influencers there. Manufacturers have figured out how to really deliver and improve their capabilities. So they are not just simply stamping out material anymore, but they're adding a higher value, which means that their manufacturing employee needs to have a higher skill set. One of the most dynamic programs in the state right now is Real Jobs Rhode Island. So that's a workforce program that is driven by the employers. So Polaris is privileged to be part of that program. And when I talk to my other counterparts across the country, they talk to me about Real Jobs Rhode Island, and it really seems to be one of the programs that's setting the standard across the country in terms of workforce development.
And when, we've had a lot of guests on, and then every week we have Gary Sass and Saul Kaplan on, so kind of two different worlds, one on the finance side of business and one on the innovation side of business. But almost everybody comes through and says, hey, we've got a couple problems here. One is education level of our workforce, and that we're kind of capped, and our folks get paid so much less than the Boston market that de facto, we've got so many people commuting up to Boston on a daily basis. How do we fix that? Massachusetts, it's almost 30 years ago, kind of changed their educational system and made a huge investment into improving the quality of schools. Here, I think there's a lot of talk about it, and we're going to make buildings dry and safe, which that's at least a good start. But we're not really transforming the curricula of school systems in Rhode Island. How do we get more competitive?
So one of the misnomers about manufacturing is it's dark and dangerous and dirty, and that is not the case
anymore. Those are the good old days,
yes, right? That's right. Not anymore. It's a clean, high-tech environment. And really, the governor and a lot of the programs that she's pushing down focuses on two big areas. One from a technology aspect, so things like the innovation voucher that Commerce Rhode Island has, that is really connecting companies into new research and development and technologies to help grow their companies. But along with those technologies comes the requirement for higher skills and better labor. So through that kind of holistic, rounded approach that the governor's office is looking at, President Hughes at CCRI is really taking a strong change approach to the community college and really leveraging the technology and leveraging manufacturers and employers to help inform the curriculum to be more appropriate to the jobs that are open.
Can you do that fast enough, and is it too late at the CCRI level?
I don't think so at all.
I mean, you've got the masses going in there are deficient in all their core competencies, and they're doing remedial work for a year or two. So can you catch up?
Yeah, the programs that Polaris has going on with CCRI right now are very dynamic and give me great hope for how quickly CCRI can change. So we have a program right now that's called Fast Track to Manufacturing with CCRI.
Sure.
And that is really very dynamic and very adaptable to employers' needs. So we are delivering skilled labor into those manufacturers because they're telling us how to train them. And while some of it is remedial math and science, a lot of it is what you're going to do on a shop floor, and that very quickly helps skill a person up to work in a manufacturing environment.
Darrell West, who used to be at Brown University, who's now at Brookings, just came out with a book on automation and AI, and sounds the warning that get ready, this is going to happen fast. Spent a lot of time in China over the past 2 years, and says the workplace, the workforce, is going to be dramatically impacted in not 10 years, but in 24, 36 months. And that lots and lots of elements of our employment will be replaced through automation and AI. How are manufacturers getting ready for that? How are they thinking about that? Or is this going to hit them when their competitor across the world or across the country all of a sudden gets a lot more efficient, cuts their labor costs by 20%? How do companies here get ready for that?
There are a few, so manufacturing employers understand it and are doing their best to get ready. I don't think the artificial intelligence or the Internet of Things is going to have a dramatic impact in 24 to 36 months. But certainly that's got an influence in terms of how manufacturing companies are thinking today. I was just this morning at the Cooley Group where they are a textile manufacturer, and you would think, old
over
school.
In Pawtucket,
exactly
they make
right.
big tarps and
in fact,
technical.
the covering for the Super Bowl this year was made with Cooley fabric. So very high technical. And you wouldn't necessarily think of that as a company that's looking at the Internet of Things and looking at data analysis, but they are pushing that technology onto the manufacturing floor. So, the manufacturing environment over the last few decades has really evolved, and the manufacturing companies that are around today and really excelling today are the ones that have embraced these changes and embraced the ability to really push technology and push their workforce. So they're certainly ready and understanding what that change could mean for them, and they're trying to adapt as quickly as they can.
So Odysseia down in North Kingstown, who makes the high protein sort of peanut butter, brought in a robot, 18 months ago, funded by Alex Anani, and it allowed them to redeploy, functionally cut the manufacturing workforce by a mammoth number and increase productivity by 300 or 400%. And if they weren't a nonprofit, sort of good folks, functionally 20, 30 people would have been out the door based on the performance of one machine. How do we get ready for that, I guess is the question, because you're starting to see numbers, and it's not just going to be purely on the manufacturing floor. I mean, there are predictions of accountants and other things. In media, most quarterly public companies' short articles that appear in Bloomberg or in Associated Press are completely automated. Most college basketball game stories on platforms like Associated Press are completely automated. There's no human being taking it. They're taking it right out of the data books and out of the feed and right in and deployed to hundreds of news organizations across the country.
Yeah, it's interesting. I would assume that the taxi drivers that at some point were talking on their flip phones would never think their flip phone that they were talking on was going to put them out of business, right? And so in a manufacturing environment, DC is a great example. Polaris helped design their new facility down in Quonset.
Which is unbelievable.
It's a fantastic place, and we had a lot of fun laying the whole thing out and working with them. And a lot of the companies that we work with on lean manufacturing process, the point of that is to do more with less people. But all of those programs focus on deploying those people. Every single company has the opportunity to do more. So there's people that now are not moving bags back and forth. They're now doing a higher value add job, right? Which in addition requires more skills, and that pulls in the educational programs with Real Jobs Rhode Island. And then as well as increases their wages because now the company's making more, they're producing more, and they're making more money off of it. So it's a shift that has happened over decades. So this is another shift that we're helping companies prepare for, and I think that the state is doing a good job of helping these manufacturing companies.
Wrap up, talk about a big success, then we'll talk about a frustration failure that you're dealing with now. Would you talk about a big success where you think you've had in this sort of consulting role, a significant impact?
Sure. So there's another automotive manufacturer that is down by the airport right now, and they had 4 facilities across the state of Rhode Island. And we're operating and we're profitable. However, they were really seeing a lot of their margins tightened, and we helped them move into a new facility out by the airport. But it wasn't just moving their equipment. We really worked and got in the details with this company in terms of how they made their material moves, how to lay out the production floor from a people, equipment, and material standpoint. And now they bring raw material in one side, and out the other side comes automotive parts. So that's a really good example of not just facility layout, but we work with their management team, we work with their research and development team, and their production team to understand their business from start to end.
And a frustration, what's the one you're like, oh, I don't know why we can't fix that one?
Well, it's interesting. We have a program called the Manufacturing Innovation Challenge where we go into small manufacturers and really help them.
Kind of Gordon Ramsay-esque going into fixed restaurants,
That's exactly right. Yeah, and we go in and sometimes...
Can we make it a reality show?
We can try.
GoLocal broadcast
We'll see how this one ends up.
That's right.
Some of these companies, it's hard to hear what some of your shortcomings are. And engaging with the companies and getting them to realize how much some of these state programs can help them is sometimes frustrating. When you break through some of that barrier, boy, we've had great success with some of these companies.
That's great. So you're not going to name any names or
not
anything
right
like
now,
that? No. Listen, Christian, I want to thank you so much for coming on and really appreciate the whirlwind. We're in such a period of just tremendous speed of change. I mean, we were just talking a couple of weeks ago about all the things we've innovated here in the last 18 months, and we're a completely different business. And by the way, in 6 more months, we'll be a completely different business again. The speed of change for companies is so rapid. And manufacturers used to be kind of like newspapers, right? For 50, 100 years, they kind of did it the same way.
Right.
And now, if you do it the same way, you run the risk of being out of business almost instantaneously.
Absolutely.
So congratulations on the work and the success you're having. I want to thank our friends over at Commerce RI for bringing in some great guests and sponsoring this. We're going to be back at 4 o'clock with Gary Sass, the Money Man, and then Saul Kaplan, Mr. Innovation. We'll be back, and clearly there have been no scores in the World Cup games because we've not heard anyone from the background scream, "Goal!" We'll be back at 4 o'clock. Thanks so much.